Hey everybody, back for another episode. So I got some engine parts that I had ordered in for the wagon. So I've been putting a few of those on. So let's take a look at where we are and what we're going to do next.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
Okay, so new tensioner, idler pulley, water pump, new intake. Got it painted. It's on there. What else do? We put the starter on. We put the bolts in for the flex plate bolts. Got them tightened. A couple of little things underneath. So screwed the oil filter on. So we're looking pretty good. I was looking at how I'm going to have to eliminate this power steering pump, and was just kind of drawing it out in my head. I still got the alternator to put on there, but I think what I'm going to have to do is change this pulley out. You can get this same pulley, but the grooved version instead of the smooth version. And the way I drew this out, well, I'd have to show you, but the belt should like go around here, up around here, up around the grooved alternator, around the grooved this, and then this should be able to put tension on it right here. So I think the way I drew it up, that should work. Should have the water pump turning the same way it was turning before. And so we are going to try that. And then I'll have to kind of figure out a belt size. So probably going to have to order a different pulley for that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and throw the rest of this intake back on. We're going to get the alternator on. No bolts in this yet, so I got to bolt this down. Let's get the plugs in it. I got the plugs. Let's, I don't know if we're going to clean fuel injectors and get the rail and all that done on this right now or not. But I have to take a little work trip in the next few days here. And I just happened to be going by the place I got the heater box. So I'm going to go back and try to snag that windshield out of that car, hopefully without breaking it. We'll take the camera along and film it, and so you can see if it works or if we make the trip for absolutely nothing or not. But that's where we're going. Oh, and the truck is for sale. I don't know if anybody saw the other video. It is on eBay right now with a couple of days left. Not really getting a whole lot of action. I did get one scammer that was like, "Hey, I'll mail you a check with some extra money for the shipper if you know that old scam." So we poo-pooed him off. And but we'll see if it sells. It sells. I'm hoping it does. I kind of got this Suburban project planned in my head, but we'll see. If it don't sell, we'll hang on to it and maybe try again next spring. So anyway, let me get some more things bolted on here, and we'll take a look at what we got. Okay, so we've got several more things bolted on here. Got the alternator bolted on. I got the plugs in this thing. I had to make a little adjustment on the transmission dipstick tube back there. It was hitting the firewall, so took care of that. We've got the sway bar bolted on. Got those brackets straightened out. It's kind of a weird bracket on that thing. I thought this thing was broke, but it actually just bolts on one side and holds it like that. You'd think they would have a bolt on both sides, but both bolts are on this side. That's what it is. So I still need to put the links in there, but so the next thing I want to do is we are gonna not rebuild these fuel injectors, but we're gonna clean them. And so I got these little kits. They're only a couple of bucks, and it's just an upper and lower O-ring. You pull these guys out, and they got an O-ring up here, and they got an O-ring down there, so you're just changing those. But we were also going to clean these things, and I made this fuel injector cleaner several years ago. Hopefully it's still over here. Okay. So basically what you do, we'll show you here. You put some seafoam, unscrew this top cap. You pour some seafoam down in there. You take a clamp and you clamp the injector here onto this side. And then you take your battery charger or 9-volt battery. And you put your air hose up here. And I turn my air regulator down to about 20 pounds. 20? Maybe 30. I'll have to remember. And then put the air regulator on there, open the valve, and then, you know, put this down in a bucket or something. And you take a 9-volt battery and a couple of wires and you hit that thing, let that open and close, and it'll flow that pressurized seafoam through there, and it does a really good job of cleaning them. So let me get all set up and we'll show you how we do one of these. Okay, so here's how we do this. I've got my fuel injector down here, I've got some leads on it, and got my battery charger on this battery. That charger will not put out a signal unless it's hooked to a battery. So I couldn't just use the battery charger leads. So I took the cap off this. We got some seafoam. I have my air hose over here and I have the regulator set at about 40 pounds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some seafoam in here. And we're going to do all 8 injectors, so put a fair amount in there. And put this guy on here. Now, put my arrows up here. Sewer knob, pressurize. Okay. Now, need a cup to go down here, and I just kind of watch the spray pattern. I don't know if you can see that. Now when I first did that, I had just a little spurt out of one thing. And now, there. Blew some junk out of there. I got a good spray pattern now. So this isn't like a flow bench, you know, it's not real technical. But, yeah, it's running now. That cleans them up really nice. So, I'm going to do the other 8 like, the other 7 like that. Then we will put some new O-rings on them. And then we will, oops, let's take this off. Put some O-rings on them and put them back in the fuel rail. I'm going to clean that fuel rail up a little bit too. Thought I got some rust on it. So I got some pressure in there. Let me put this back up, let the pressure off of it. You don't want to get real crazy on the pressure or end up blowing this little rubber hose off there. Putting seafoam all over you and shooting your fuel injector across the garage. Pressure out of it. Oh yeah, that looks nice now. Okay. But that's all you do. Let me get the next one, let me get them all done, we'll take a look. Okay, so we got all 8 of them cleaned up. So just another quick review of this thing. You can build you one of these very easy. my sea foam. Piece of pipe, 2 caps, nipple down here. You got to drill and tap these caps. Fitting up here, ball valve for the air chuck. And I just use straight sea foam and it works really good. And if you want to reuse your sea foam, you can. I mean, you can run it through a paint filter, it'll probably be all right, but just throw it away into a new can. Unless you run out while you're doing it and you don't have another can, then you can filter a little bit of it to finish the last few up. But we had enough. So all we did was replace this O-ring, and I'll tell you what, out of the 8, 5 of them, the spray patterns did not look good on until we ran that cleaner through. And one of them, as soon as I put the air pressure to it, started drip, 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 drip. So there was a piece of junk caught in it. And I hit it extra good with that sea foam, and then after a few times, the spray pattern cleared up and it sealed off. So, which these things aren't super expensive. I don't know, they're like 30 bucks a piece, but heck, if you can clean them up and reuse them, why not? So let me get all these in there, get the fuel rail bolted on, and then we'll take another look. All right, so as you can see, all the injectors are in. Took a little bit of grease and put it on all the upper O-rings, just so the fuel rail would slide out good. And I went ahead and cleaned up my fuel rail. It just kind of had some rust and crud on it. We just made it look a little bit nicer. And we're going to put it into place. There's not one in there. It's just an old gasket in there. No? A little bit of crud though. I'm gonna clean that out. Nope, I haven't touched them yet. I haven't touched them yet. I will be shortly. Okay, that is it for that. We're going to find the screws for that, get the throttle body on it. I think we're going to knock off for the day. We're taking the camper out tonight, and I got to get some things ready for it. So, I'll be back Sunday. We'll do a little bit more on this, put a few more things together. And then I got a road trip coming up, and we'll pull the glass on that other car on the same video. So that's what's coming up, but she's looking good. I think it's looking a lot more like a complete engine. So all right, back in a day or so. All right, so we got a few more things bolted on here. Just got back from our little trip and we had a great time. So we got throttle body bolted on, a couple other little things bolted on. Before I get too much further, I want to look at these heater boxes. And I said at the beginning of the video I was going to go get this windshield out of this other car this week, but it looks like I'm not going to because I need to take my car on my work trip, and I cannot fit a windshield in that little Dodge Dart. So I tried. I took the old one to see if it would fit in there, and it's like there is no good way to carry that thing without it breaking, and my wife needs her car. So may end up just buying a new windshield. Anyway, here's the two heaters I pulled out of two different junk cars. So this one you can see the bottom's all busted out of, and the wheel is just falling apart on it. This one is maybe a little better, but I got a bad spot up here I need to fix. And and I can't get to the wheel yet to see if it turns. I'm hoping out of these two I got a good heater core and maybe a good blower motor and wheel. This wheel looks, I can kind of see it in there, it sort of looks okay, but there are a couple of pieces on this thing that were rusted out on this that I think I can save off of here. So I am going to tear both of these guys down, and we'll pressure test both of these heater cores and see if we can make one good heater assembly out of this thing. And looking at them both, and I went and took them both out, and I got them both cheap, and it's like, you know what? I looked on eBay and I found just the casing without any of the guts in it for like 120 bucks. And I've got 100 wrapped up in these two, so plus all my labor for taking 2 road trips and taking these things out. So maybe I should have just bought the one on eBay and scrounged some parts. But anyway, we're stuck where we are. Let me get these things apart and see if we've got anything worth using here. So that is heater box 1, and we got the heater core out of it, which we're going to pressure test. The motor does turn. I usually don't worry about little cuts too much because I get them all the time, but that thing was some jagged rusty metal with old mouse droppings on it, and it whacked my hand, so I went ahead and went in and put some alcohol on it. Put some yeast fluid on it. I don't know about this thing. I mean, it's in pretty sad shape. Maybe there's a couple parts on it we can use. I don't know. Motor, the heater core, the little damper doors. But it kind of looks like this is going to be the better one, if it's savable at all. It's like the mice were living in that one. They're probably living in this one too. But let's do the same thing. Let's get it apart and see if we got something we can save. Okay, so this one is rough, but not nearly as rough as the other. And this one I think we can save. The other one was packed with mouse stuff. This one was packed with mud daubers and a little bit of mouse stuff. So I think we can I think we can fix it. I mean, it came apart pretty much without breaking. So the motor does not turn. I've got one motor that turns, which we're probably gonna have to end up getting a motor. We'll see. We got 2 heater cores we can pressure test. One of them, actually, yeah, this one's plugged up with mud daubers. That one had water in it, so, but we'll flush them both out, pressure test them both, see how they do. And this has got some cracks in it, but I think we can scrub this, clean it up, and we'll either fix this with some, we'll make a little metal plate up here that maybe we'll screw to it, or maybe we'll do some fiberglass resin to it. But it's just cracked. There's no pieces missing. This little hole here is where the for this control cable, where that little, like this little bracket went that held that control cable. So I think we've got one on there. We'll have to make it fit on here, but we've got something savable, so that's good. I'm just gonna go ahead and wash this up, and should we try to hook that other motor to a battery and see what it does? Yeah, not right now. We'll do that later. Let me clean this up, and I'm gonna quit for now, and I need to get going on get stuff ready for my work trip here. So that is going to be all for today. And then when I get back next weekend, I'll get back on this and finish up the video. So by the time you see this, I'll already be back, and we'll be getting things wrapped up on this. So, all right, so that's where we're going to left off here, and we will pick this up probably on Friday evening or Saturday. Okay, I'm back from my little work trip, so it's a few days later, and let me show you what we did here. I took some hot soapy water and cleaned these up, and I'm gonna have to get in there and clean some of this. Luckily, it's just like surface rust on this sheet metal stuff, and on these little diverter doors. They all move, so that's good. We cleaned all the junk out. Well, let's clean a little more junk out of there, but we got it pretty clean. So all these little diverter doors, I'm gonna have to clean up the rust on them, and put a little rust inhibitor on this. And we got our little clamps that hold the control cables, but I mean, it's all here and it's all usable. We just got to do some refurbishing on it. So we did that. This is the cap that goes on part of that. I sanded that down, put a little rust inhibitor on there. That's going to be good. We need to pressure test these 2 heater cores. Are they the same or are they different? No, they're the same. Heater boxes were a little bit different, but the cores are a little bit different. So I know this one had water in it. This one's get full of mud daubers. I'm gonna pressurize them both and just see if either of them or one of them is good. So, and then fan motors. So over here, I've got this one that is completely locked up off the second motor, but the blade is in good shape. I cannot get that thing to move at all. This one, it turns. It's a little tight. It does turn, but this blade is complete junk. So if we can get this one to turn, I think we can get some oil into it and make it usable. Let's just see. It's been sitting for a long time. Stuck at ground. I think we're just hot. Hey. Oh, it's not that bad. Okay. So it does turn. Maybe we can just pull it apart and grease the bearings up on it a little bit and sand them off, and maybe that'll be a good one. You get another one for a little over $100, but man, these old little motors like this, they are tough. I have revived a bunch of these things that you would think would just never run, and you get them lubed up and get the junk cleaned out of them, and they just seem to keep on going forever. So we're going to try to do that. We'll see if we can fix that guy up. All right, let me let this paint dry. Let me let this water dry, and we are going to fix this crack. And I think we're going to do it with a little piece of sheet metal. And I think I have some fiberglass filler over here. Yeah, U-pole fiberglass filler. We're going to fix it with that. So let me let this dry out, and then we'll go ahead and clean all these rusty diverters and clamps and stuff up on this thing, and then we'll see if we can get that patched and get her fixed up. So back in just a few. Okay, so was able to get this wheel off without damaging the shaft, and this thing is tight. I mean, but it was running. So I think if we can get some oil in this thing and just clean up those little bearings in there, it's probably going to be okay. I'm trying to remember, when you take these apart, if like the little brush holders clamp back together, if you can get the thing back together. I honestly can't remember. All right, let me go ahead and, it looks like we can save this piece. I can probably find another motor, not necessarily that motor, to fit in there. But for the sake of saving $40, let's just, which is what I found, another motor that looks like that for. Let's just see if we can make the thing work. All right, I need to pull this apart. I had this soaking in PB Blaster all night, so let me see if I can get the wheel off of here. And then I think we'll pull this motor apart just to see how they go together before I pull that one apart. So back in just a minute. Okay, got the wheel off without hurting it. Got a little surface rust on it, but it's not damaged, so we're just gonna kind of clean that up and reuse it, hopefully. Let's go ahead and pull this one. And once I start tapping around on this motor kind of turns now. Oh, coffee's getting cold. Enough of that. All right, pull this guy apart. So I got two motors that kind of turn. Maybe we can make one of them a good motor. This should come off. This should come off. My phone's ringing. Hang on. Sorry about that. I had to answer a spam call. You love those things. Okay, so that, and you got this little gasket thing. Which is really on there. Made of rubber. Looks like some kind of vibration isolator. See if we can get it off without destroying it. So earlier in the video, I had said I was not going to go get that windshield out of that other car. But there's still a possibility it might. Talk to the people. They're a couple hours away from me. They got a guy that wants to buy the whole car for parts or scrap or whatever. So it sounds like he's okay with the windshield not being in there. And he's not going to get down there for a few weeks. So maybe I get a chance to go get that. I would much rather go get, it's a pretty good looking windshield. I'd much rather go try to go get that one and save a couple $100. Okay. Look at that, December 8th, 1959. Stamped right on there. All right, let's see if we can actually get the motor apart. And a part number that's sort of legible. Come on now. Yep. We used to have a guy in town, Mr. Morris, I think. Old guy ran a motor shop out of his house, and he did all of these old little motors. And there were a couple times I took motors over to him, like a little dryer motor I took to him one time, and I was like, this thing's locked up, I need a new motor or a rebuilt one. And he's like, nah, we can fix that. And he would take the thing apart and work on the bearings a little bit, and it was just amazing that all the non-serviceable motors that guy could fix. I don't know if you ever seen the like the little motors, the quarter horse that go in a clothes dryer, and it looks like there's no way to lube them. They got like these little tin caps over the bearing ends. Well, if you pop those little tin caps off, there's like a sponge in there, and that sponge is soaked with oil at the factory and it dries out. So he'd pull that thing apart, he'd sand the shaft, he'd sand the little brass bearings, he'd re-soak that little sponge with oil, and I'll be darned if those things wouldn't run again. All right. This thing is really rusty. Is it gonna come apart? I have no idea. Well, these are coming out. So I did put a mark on here so I just know which way it goes back together. And it is not moving, so I have no idea if this is going to work. I don't want to clamp it too tight because I don't want to bend it up. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Surely there's a way to get that apart. If you beat it to death, it definitely ain't coming apart. A little oil on that seam there. Maybe that'll do something. I'm afraid if I beat on it too much, tear up that back bearing. There it goes. See if we can use the old Morris
humorous method and get this thing to do something. Oh my gosh, it's nasty in there. I'll tell you what. This one is full of rust and probably never going to run again. And I just killed it. At least I can see what it looks like. Alright, so alright, so it is stuck in that back bearing. That is nasty. I don't know if that's stuck in there, if there's a retainer in there. Well, this one is junk for sure. I'm glad I took this one apart first. Just trying to see, does that just pop out of that back bearing somehow? It feels like there's something holding it in there. Maybe that whole bearing comes out with it, and it's just hung up from being crusty. Moving. Tell you what, there's so much rust back there. I don't see any way to. I don't think this one's gonna come apart. Or I could be wrong. Okay, there's your brushes. There's your stator. There's your brush. Okay, I see. So it's just got some little, like little springy teeth. That ball just pops into that thing. But look at all that crud. So, are we going to be able to save that one? I don't know. This one, he's going to, well, we're going to throw this one away until we get that one apart and see what's going on. But you know what? There is no back bearing in this thing. It just sits in that little cup. And this front bearing, it looks like you can just put some oil down there and get oil in there. So I got a thought. Could take a tiny drill bit and drill a little hole in this back cup, put some oil in there, put a little silicone over it, and dribble some oil down here, and that should lube the thing up. There's no actual bearings in this thing. See, just a little brass doohickey there, a little brass guy there. So you get oil down in there, and I'll bet that thing will work for a while anyway. I'm going to try that. We're going to run it again and see how it does. So I'm eating up a lot of time here on this video doing this silly motor. Let me do that, and then we will, I'll show you what we're going to do on the housing, and we'll get this thing put back together. Okay, so here's what I did. Clean this motor up a little bit. I drilled a tiny hole there. Took a little zoom oil spout, squirted a little oil down there, squirted a little oil there, and it was squeaking a little when I first ran it, and now it sounds pretty good. Not getting hot. So we're just gonna let it run a little bit, kind of do its thing, and see how it does here. I might have to hook my battery charger up to that thing. And you know, if it runs 10-15 minutes or so without getting hot or slowing down or making a bunch of noise, then I'll go ahead and use it. So looks like we might have saved this thing. Okay, so motor was a fail. Longer it ran, it started smoking. Got really hot up here, so I thought, well, if I could just get this cap off and clean that little ball up in there, then maybe it will be okay. Maybe it was just gunk. But on this motor, the brushes were in the front. So when I pulled it apart, the little holder for the brushes just crumbled into a bunch of pieces. So, fail. Oh well, we'll get another motor for it. But hey, we tried, you know. All right, so I am going to, we've got the housing over here. I'm going to pull these, I don't know if I'm going to pull these dampers. I might just try to wire brush them up, get a little paint on that one. Same back here, get a little paint on this one. I don't know, maybe we'll pull them out of there and clean this shaft up, and you know, I'd like to get all that rust out of there. So let's do those. Let's clean those dampers up, get them ready to go, and we'll go ahead and patch this side of the housing. And my wife's home. All right, back in a minute. Okay, so here's what I did. I just cut a little piece of 18 gauge, drilled a few holes in it, and we mixed up some fiberglass filler, and I sandwiched it in there, pulled that back together, ran a couple screws in it. So that is going to stay like that. I need to take this screw out when it's dry because it's blocking that that damper. Or maybe I can, I don't know if I can cut it off. Probably not. We'll just take it out when everything's dry. So with that, and with the this piece that goes on the back of there, that should hold that good and steady. We got all the dampers cleaned up, got some rust reformer on them, and now we're going to go out and we're going to hook this heater core up to the hose. And I just got a little piece of hose and a cap on that side, and we'll just hook that up to the hose and see if it holds water or not. Hopefully it does. So this is the one that had coolant in it. This one, get some mud daubers down in there. But I do kind of see some green here. I don't know if that's a sign that this thing was leaking or not. We're gonna find out. Let's go hook it up and see. Okay, I guess we'll say that one is a no. So let's hook the other one up and see what it looks like. All right, first off, before I cap this other side, let's just see if this thing will even flow water through it. Because it's had some mud daubers way down in there, and I stuck a screwdriver. I think I got them out, but the whole thing might be clogged up. Not even worth messing with. Well, I guess we can say that one's also a no. All right. So I need a heater core and a fan motor. Bummer. You can see my price list going up. All right. Okay, so we're kind of stuck on getting this heater back together. I can't put the two halves back together till I got a heater core in it. Fan motor I can wait on because it goes in from the outside, but you know, that can be a later on thing. But to put this in, I gotta have a heater core, and I want to get everything under that dash assembled. So I guess I'm gonna get online, find a heater core, get it coming, and in the meantime, I need to work on this area over here, and we're kind of tight for space. So what I need to fit in here, I need exhaust. I need to come up with some kind of way to hook this shifter to that transmission. And what else do I need over there? There's like 3 things I was thinking I need over there. Maybe it was 2. Okay, but anyway, so I think next video, that's what we're going to work on. I'm going to try to, we're going to have to come up with some way to make this shifter work on that. Now, the old way was that transmission used a shift cable from on the Lincoln, and this used linkage. So I'm going to try to work out something with some linkage, but I think the first thing we need to do is at least get this drop part of the exhaust into place, figure out where it's going to be going past the transmission, so I know what I've got for room for the shifter. I know what else I want to do. I want to get the master cylinder on and get these, at least these front brake lines run, and kind of get that out of the way, because I say you don't have much space right in here. So I guess that'll be it for this video. I know it probably went kind of long. We'll get a word from the Lord. And on the next one, we're going to be working over here. We get this stuff lined out. And I think we're going to, after that, we're going to start wiring this thing and figure out if we can make this engine run. So that's probably a couple of videos long. So let's get a word from the Lord, and we'll call it here. Hey everybody, thanks for coming along on the video. I know this might have gone kind of long. I haven't checked on the time, but I think we got some pretty interesting stuff on there with the fuel injection, cleaning, and all that. So hope you enjoyed it. So like I said, next time we're going to start working over on that driver's side corner and see if we can get all that stuff to make sense. So for today's message, you know, they say never talk about 2 things with your friends: politics and religion. So we talk about the Lord on this video all the time. So I am going to delve into the other no-no, and we're going to talk politics for a second with the Lord. So I've shared before, I am a lifelong Republican. I have voted conservative since my first time I was able to vote, which I believe was George Bush Sr. was the first one I voted for. So, and I vote conservative for same reasons a lot of people do. Freedom of religion. I am a pro-life advocate. There's a long story behind that with my mom's pregnancy with me and why I feel that way. And she was, I was raised Catholic, and she was very pro-life, and she instilled those values into me. You know, I like lower taxes. I like less government. When it comes to immigration, I think anybody who wants to come into the country and live here and work here, who is not a hardened criminal from another country, I think they should be allowed to come in, and they should be welcome, you know, but I think they should take the legal path to get in here, and I think the United States should welcome them and make that easy for them if they want to become a productive American citizen. So kind of, you know, all those things, you know, seems like there's some crazy things going on with the schools in the last few years that the Democrats have put on. I think school is should be for teaching the basic educational skills. So we'll leave it at that. But anyhow, we are 3 weeks away from an election, maybe a little more than 2 weeks. And looking online, I see a lot of people praying for Republicans to win. A lot of Republicans praying for Republicans to win, for Donald Trump to win. I am not a huge Donald Trump fan. I am voting more for the conservative platform of the things I just talked about than I am for former President Trump. I think in his first election, he had the backing of the evangelical community. I saw a guy who was engaging in a lot of prayer, and it seemed to me like there was a change going on with this guy, but I kind of feel like he squandered a lot of that. I like his policies. I don't like his mouth. I don't like a lot of the things he says, but I feel like it's my duty as an American to vote, and I've got this choice or this choice. So I'm sticking with the conservative platform, more on the people he will appoint, the judges he will appoint that will have more of a conservative leaning than the liberal side. But the thing we have to realize, no matter who wins, God is in control. And if Vice President Harris were to win, God could easily use that woman to further his kingdom. Nothing surprises God. He's not going to be caught off guard if Harris wins. So what I would like to do myself, and invite you to do with me over the next 3 weeks or whatever, is every morning that when we get up, we just pray for that no matter who wins, that God uses them in a powerful way to further his kingdom and to put this country on the right track. And the method of how he does that is up to him. So I fully trust him that if the candidate that I don't want is in office, that he will protect us, and that he has a plan for the country going forward, and that is out of our hands. And if President Harris or Vice President Harris wins, we should pray for her administration daily, that that she is obedient to the Lord, and that the Lord would soften her heart. I don't know her religious views, but I know God could use her in a powerful way. We look back through the scriptures at some of the other people the Lord used, and he used some pretty sketchy people for his kingdom back in scripture, and he continues to. I may be one of them. So anyway, that's kind of my message for today. We should not be battling and being hateful to each other. As Christians, we need to set the example. We need to pray for this election coming up, and regardless of who wins, if we're disappointed on election day or if we're happy on election day, the prayer should be the same, that the Lord will use that person to further his kingdom in our country. So let's have a quick word of prayer and we'll be out of here. Father, I thank you for the freedom of our country, that our country was founded on your principles. And we know it's things have been kind of scary the last few years, but we trust you. We know that you can bring us around, and you tell us in Scripture that if we pray for our country, that that you can turn it around and turn it back to you, and that's just what we ask for. That regardless of which one of these candidates gets in, that they will defer to you on how to run the country and run their lives. And we just lift them both, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, up to you today for your blessings and for your influence on them. And for ourselves, we just ask that we are able to remain peaceful, that we are able to reflect the principles that you show to us, and that we're just able to not fight during this election and the season coming after. That we are just able to defer to you in all things. And we ask this in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. Amen. All right, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment. Hope you like that message. Hope I didn't rub anybody the wrong way, but I will catch you on the next one.